That's Aikido. That's all I'm doing. I'm not thinking fall, I'm thinking break.
Some people dedicate their whole lives to one black belt. This man, Shihan Paul Cale, has 8 black belts with 27 done grades across them, including Aikido, Judo, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Kyokushin Karate, Daidojuku Kudo, and more. Aikido is often criticized as an ineffective martial art, but what happens when it's done by a true master of multiple styles?
If I can avoid killing you, this is a good thing.
Having founded combatives programs for the Australian and New Zealand military, alongside his extensive resume, Sensei Paul is here to share some insights on his tried and tested effective Aikido, as well as looking at some commonly asked questions and some grappling applications as well.
I trained in multiple styles all my life, really. So I started martial arts late in 1979. And then throughout the 80s, you didn't have the full-time martial arts studios that you have today. But I wanted to train all the time, so I had to do a couple of martial arts, because one would be on a Monday and a Thursday, the other would be a Tuesday, Friday or what have you, or Saturday. So it allowed me to train all the time. So I was cross-training before as a thing. So I always reflected on my Aikido in the context of karate that I was doing, or Judo. As far as a style, I think I'm doing Aikido, but it wouldn't look like what people think of Aikido, I guess. A Rimanagi is probably an example. I'll show you 2 ways that I like to do a Rimanagi, okay? The way I would actually do the technique to defend myself or fight is more like an Osoto Otoshi. So the head comes from here, but now I'm in there.
That's got some serious power to it, for
Yes,
sure.
yes. Just think of it as the upper body, and how can I affect the lower body? And that's where all your ashiwaza, or things like that, Osoto Otoshi, things like this.
Aiki Judo all day.
It pretty much is Aiki Judo. But again, you've traveled on this foot, so that means your weight's on that foot. So as soon as I come through, now I'm in here. Again, my leg, as my arm comes through, again, Yoshinkan, you'll see this. Tamiki, you'll see this. And the reason for it is over that leg. So again, even though I'm not doing a traditional judo style throw, it's very similar to Sakui Nagi, but I'm doing the same thing, head this way. If you wanted to make it more combative orientated, then that's your elbow this way. Elbow and over.
Put your headphones on for this bit and listen to my body hit the floor with clean and powerful technique. In Aikido, you see so many grabs, like grabs off the lapel or grabs off the wrist, and people say, no one would grab you like that. Can you give us your perspective on that?
Yeah, well, firstly, you will see wrist controls in grappling styles. Many grappling styles will have a wrist control. The motivation for the wrist control and the high volume of it in Aikido is, again, about being armed. So whether I've got a sword in my arm, whether I've got a knife in my hand, you're wanting to stop that weapon from getting to you. And the most common place is you'll see this grip happening, things like that. And that's just to control the weapon. You'll see 2-on-1, whatever's going on. This is very common, and very common in Army combatives training. But if I've got the blade here, I can still manipulate my weapon, and so on. And this is where the locks come from. Let's say I have a blade here. I'm literally just bringing the blade across to clear this to get into attacking you. And then I realize, well, there's a lock here. And then that just becomes the lock that you're doing. All I want to do is clear this. I just want it cleared off so I can do what I'm doing. And then if it's difficult, I want to attack that wrist. So I'm actually just attacking it to attack you. Now, I'm not doing it hard because I don't want to jack your wrist, but I want the lock to be there. So when I do hit that, I'm injuring you like this. Now that's Aikido. That's all I'm doing. So if you want to see the original intent of the technique, the way I get you to break that grip is by damaging the structure of your arm. I come from here, now there we go, Aikido done. Now, the whole idea of Aikido is not to have that destruction at the other end. If I can control you and capture you, right, then this is shows that I'm a person of value. If I can avoid killing you, this is a good thing, a positive thing. And this is that whole martial art attitude of, yes, here's the destruction, and then with skill and knowledge, you can capture someone without doing great harm to them. The problem is, if this is our objective from the beginning, and we don't know how to do great harm, we have no reference point. And that's why Aikido people struggle if they don't have Judo, Karate, or weaponry to develop their understanding from. If they just do Aikido and they just want to be at the end of the trip, at the end of the journey, it's a very hard thing to understand actually what you're trying to do. Whereas if I show you something like that, where we just, we're just doing this, now you're like, okay, I can understand the lock, understand the purpose, and so on.
Do you have a particular experience, or like a real life experience from either one of your students or yourself, where you've used either the principles of Aikido or an Aikido technique in a real life situation that you're willing to share?
All the time, a Rimanagi, all the time. Probably the most common thing I'll do is and I did many, many years of door work when I was a professional martial arts instructor, because you had, a club type format, unlike the modern academies you see today. You had to supplement your income, so normally working the door tends to be what you're doing. And what I find is, once people are fired up, it becomes a right hand, and it comes, pretty much like that each time. So it's the fact that I'm doing that at the same time, as opposed to sort of block, punch type thing. It sort of tends to be that hit, check, hit at the same time. From there, I'd probably go from there and I hang on to here and I keep breaking balance, punch, balance, punch. I can either collapse you, topple you, or trip you. And when you look at martial arts, they all are doing these sort of things. This is to collapse. If I'm hitting you, you'll be buckling at your legs. And that's where the Arimi skis come in. Hit, and as you're buckling, direct you to where I want you to go. Okay. If I'm doing it when I'm playing, say, BJJ, which is a rule set that lets you use a lot of variation, then what I'll do is my kumikata, my grip fighting, I actually work on grabbing the hand or the fingers, which allows me to manipulate the angle of your wrist. What I like to do in a jiu-jitsu format is I'll come over like a reverse sort of wrestling grip into here, but I'll work off your collar. And as you do this, then I'll start in here, and then as I do classic Aiki, I won't turn your arm. I'll wait for you to decide that you don't want that anymore. As you move, now, that's when I catch it, okay? Now, for me, if you watch it done classically, the arm's brought away. The other option you've got is to bring the elbow into the hip to trap the elbow for that sort of locking type feel here, and then to turn the fingers straight for the toes. And that, very hard to do a classical flip out of it. And the reasoning behind that is, in competitive Aikido, obviously as you do kotegaeshi on me, I'm going to extend to get out. Because I lose points if you do it, if I pull over, right? So I know that you're an Aikido-go. I know you know the technique, and my goal is to stop you from escaping that technique, okay? My choice is this, or my choice is to pull you away and catch it, okay? Because my goal is to use this to trap, look at your weight, so straight away, where are we?
That's phenomenal. I love that.
Thinking fall, I'm thinking break. I'm wanting to break that, okay?
A lot of these Aikido throws are done, you see such extravagant and spectacular falling, right? Because as I've heard you discuss before, they're not just locks, but they're like breaking mechanics, right? Can you talk a little bit about why we see these kind of falls in Aikido?
Okay, it's to escape the lock. All right, now if we have a competitive format, to flip out of a lock, you would lose points. So your escapes are going to be different. But traditionally, this is you being caught by the lock. So your option is to fall, have me attack, be on top, or to flip. Now, when I explain this to our guys who compete, they start to flip, just like on the ground. People will flip out of locks. You're just doing the same thing standing. You're flipping out of a lock, And the idea is to land and be moving. So you're caught in the lock. You'll see it in judo. Throws and players will flip through the air to escape the lock.
Yeah.
You're doing literally what Olympic judoka do to get out of a lock, right? So if you can escape that lock before it comes on, no problem.
Yeah.
If the lock is on, the flip is the escape
Yeah.
rather than having the destruction of the arm.
Yeah.
Now, would most Aikido people destroy the arm? No, because they may not know what they're doing. But if I lock this in place here, that is definitely putting a lot of pressure on that arm.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right? And again, even if I don't get the lock this way, I get the kasushi by putting the weight on what I want to affect. There's plenty of these techniques that you can't do safely that have literally been changed by Kano sensei to make the randori safe, okay? But we can investigate and have a look. Now, if I put a wrist lock on here and I do a harai, I'm gonna look after you here like this. And I'm moving with you here, but this arm I could keep up here, all right? Now I need a good uke, someone to receive the technique. Now you're good at this, so I'm not gonna do this. I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna flick this. You wouldn't, this one, it's illegal in competition. But the reason it's illegal, as you'll see as we do it, if you weren't moving with that and if I wasn't moving with you, you're gonna get hurt.
That's a break for sure.
Yeah, and we don't want that to happen. But straight away, we can see the difference. There's the weight here, caught on the harai, and there's the movement, and away we go.
A beautiful example of combining both Aikido and Judo to create an effective throwing system. Let's have a look at some Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu applications of some Aikido techniques and principles.
So from guard, it's a good place to, again, just to create that balance break to get what you want to achieve here. As far as a lock goes, I can do the classic Americano udegurami type thing here, and away I go. But also, I have that option here. And there's that same sort of angle that you're getting from the kotegaeshi, and then into there like that. Well, for on top, again, this is a variation of the kimura or udegurami again, but I can just get onto the blade here. And by having this and bringing your wrist in, just as per the Sankejo, now from there, all I've got to do is lift here. And I've got the lock, so I don't even need to bring my arms together. I can just be here, and now I've got that lock caught here.
Yeah.
Right?
Nice.
I can also be lower on your arm where I don't have the upper part here, and I've just caught that there like this.
That is brutal, that.
Very, very.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah.
Standing up, if you say like a seal, but you do this with the hand.
Yep.
So I'll come in with a seonagi,
Yep.
boom, but I'll slide straight out into the lock.
Love that one.
And then we can come back this way, and then you've got all your controls.
Sankyo for days on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
There's a lot you can do with it.
Awesome.
Aiki is a very solid, very real thing. And even if you look at Kyokushin, so I have a background in Kyokushin as well, and you look at the arts that come from there, like Ashihara or Enshin, very much use a Sabaki, Aiki type thing. If you look at Judo, Judo literally has Aikido in it. You have the Goshin Jutsu no Kata, so Tomiki Sensei. Then you look at Mochizuki Sensei, Abe Sensei. So all of my Judo background has always been Aikido linked in. So it's never been really a question of the Aikido. For me, it's always been who's doing it and their interpretation and that. And I listen, I watch. There's things that, I find odd. Later on, I might find value in it. So I might not just have the mindset or the understanding to find a value. So I try not to throw things away. I just park them to one side and I won't use them, but I'll explore that information. And then there's other things that there's a better answer in Judo or a better answer in Karate, and I'll just push that out completely.
Yeah. Have you got a message out there for all the Aikidoka or martial artists alike?
Yeah, well, all martial artists should realize that you're a Budoka. You're a martial, you follow the martial way. So explore it, there's a reason something's been around for a long time. When you look at Aikido, have a look at how many great judo masters. We're not talking about people who dabbled in judo. We're talking about 8th degree judo black belts, people who are prominent students of Jigoro Kano, the founder of judo. And they have all deeply investigated Aikido. And Aikido has changed as different people lead different groups of Aikido. But those individuals, it's heavily influenced by their Kodokan experience. And then they've actually come back and brought Aikido back into the Kodokan with the Goshin Jitsu no Kata and things like this. Now, what you're seeing here is Mochizuki Sensei was tasked with collecting Japanese martial arts and preserving them at the Kodokan. It was very much about bringing everybody in and doing the best to preserve something that was starting to fall away. Everything was about the Menji restoration and Western knowledge, Western information. And then obviously that is affected again after World War II. So just don't have blinkers on. Do what you're doing, but investigate all martial arts and think of it as a one thing as opposed to these competing interests.
That's incredible. I appreciate it, Sensei Paul. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well done. And that's why I enjoyed the idea of seeing what you're doing, because you're doing exactly that. So it's good to see young people jumping in and doing that. So it's good.